Uttarakhand and Himachal, they call it Him Tendua. In Spiti, part of Himachal and Ladakh, they call it Shan or Shin, depending on where you belong to or where are you watching the snow leopard. Snow leopard is the smallest of the four large cats in India and is known as Panthera. It is a very beautiful animal, also known as a grey ghost. It's generally gray with a light buff brown orange color in the underparts, and its finely formed head and a very bulky body. It is the apex predator in the high altitude ecosystems of the Central Asian mountains and the Himalayan region. So if you look at the distribution, it's about 2.77 million square kilometers, and we have a rough idea of about 7,000 snow leopards in the world. So you see here, it is distributed in India, Nepal, Bhutan, China, Mongolia, Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. There are only 12 nations in the world have the snow leopard. Snow leopard inhabits alpine areas only, about 3,000 meters or 3,500 meters. They inhabit sometimes the subalpine zones at the tree line, but they're usually in the cold and high mountain areas where you have little bit of grass and shrub. They like steep, rugged terrain that have a lot of cliffs, ridges, sharp gullies, and stony, rocky outcrops. This is typically the habitat. They live in the trans-Himalayan regions of India, which is located north of the main Himalaya, and some parts of the main Himalaya in the southern side, but only about 3,000 meters. They are small amongst the large cats of India, but they can kill even large prey because they have very strong paws and they are very well adapted to live in high altitude regions because of their coat that gives them warmth. It has a very long tail that helps it to balance while jumping over cliffs, chasing the prey, as well as keep it warm when it can be curled around it during extreme and unfavorable weather conditions. It preys on mountain ungulates, that is wild goat and wild sheep and some deer. They also feed on small rodents like the marmots and some galliform birds like partridges, and also livestock like goat, sheep, and domestic yaks. Snow leopards are solitary animals. Occasionally, you'll find them in small family groups. The breeding is in winter, and after a gestation period of about 3 to 4 months, their young ones are born in spring. Usually 2 to 3 cubs are born, and they also wean off by 1.5 to 2 years. Now, in the Himalaya, as I said, they are found only in the trans-Himalaya regions or the cold deserts north of the main Himalayan range. That is parts of Ladakh, Spiti. Then you have trans-Himalayan regions in Uttarakhand like Nanda Devi Biosphere Reserve, Nelong Valley, or even the Dharma, Byas, Chaudhans areas of eastern Uttarakhand. Then in Sikkim, you get it in North Sikkim, the deserts, cold deserts, and in Arunachal, only the Tawang area, which is a little bit of trans-Himalayan areas. But when you come to south of the Himalaya, main Himalaya, you find them above tree line in many areas. So this is a view of the trans-Himalayan habitats of Uttarakhand, Malari, Niti. Even this is from Malari to Topidunga, Untadura. All these places have typically no trees, only scattered grasses and shrubs, and a typical snow leopard habitat. And snow leopard is a king of this area. It's also known as a grey ghost. It is apex predator. It lives in these areas, maintaining the ecosystem of the whole region. This is a picture from the Nelong Valley of Gangotri. Now, what is tiger to most of Indian forest is snow leopard to the high mountains. That's why snow leopard conservation is extremely important for the well-being of the Himalayan ecosystems. In the Greater Himalaya also they are found where you have some trees and a lot of snow in winter. You can see snow leopard easily maneuvering and adapted to these very high altitude winter situations and they do not come to low elevations. They are usually around 3,000, around that area only. Occasionally, as I said, in winter they do the pairing. Males and females come together, and in spring you will find mother with cubs, and sometimes three cubs like this. And the real challenge for the mother would be to raise all of them, and then once they grow up, they wean by 2 years, and they establish their own territories. Before we did all this work about snow leopards, what we knew in the past in the 90s and early 2000 was just a rough idea about where snow leopard occurred in India. This is the first map we produced, uh, thinking about where all snow leopards will be found in Western Himalaya and in the Eastern Himalaya. And we did this for, and based on very little knowledge and talking to people and experts. So we thought India should have something like about 1,28,000 square kilometers. That time it was Ladakh and Jammu Kashmir were one state, so that was a major chunk, followed by Himachal and Uttarakhand, more or less same area levels. Sikkim being only about 8,000 square kilometers, and about Arunachal about 81,000. But within Uttarakhand, if you see the distribution that's shown in brown, the blacks polygons you see are protected areas. So number one is Nanda Devi, two is Valley of Flowers National Park, three is Gangotri, four is Govind, five is Kedarnath, and six is Askot. These are the only protected areas where snow leopard occur in Uttarakhand. But the brown area that shaded shows that they occur outside protected areas as well. For example, Nanda Devi and Valley of Flowers are core zones of the Nanda Devi Biosphere Reserve. So around Nanda Devi and around Valley of Flowers and the area in between that, you get snow leopards. Similarly, if you go east of Nanda Devi, you will get them in Munsiari, high altitudes, Dharma, Byas, Chaudhans, they are all there. Okay. So the first thing that I would like to say here is that our protected areas are not sufficient to conserve snow leopard in the long run because they are very small in nature. And these are large predators that they move long distances. They have a large home range. For example, in Mongolia, they say the home range is about 125 for female to about 200 for males. In Nepal, they got about 25 square kilometers. That's only the winter range. Even in India, the first ever radicolor study done in MS gave about 20 square kilometers for winter. We all can understand that in winter, home ranges may shrink because of snow and consequent congregation of prey in the lower elevations. But in summer, they need large protected areas to move around, so they don't see the administrative boundaries. So the snow leopards move longer distances in the Himalayan region, and that is why the connectivity that is important is, yes, Nanda Devi and Valley of Flowers are connected because of the buffer zone of Nanda Devi Biosphere Reserve. And that is also connected to Kedarnath, which again is connected to Gangotri on the north. Gangotri and Govind are also connected in between because of those contiguous habitats, and snow leopards are found in these areas. So we should understand that while protected area may be an important area for snow leopard conservation, there are many areas outside the protected areas that are important for snow leopard conservation. And these high altitude areas also have a lot of water, and because all Himalaya is called the water towers of Asia, so many rivers originate. Plus, there are a lot of alpine grazing lands, range lands, which we call Bugyals in Uttarakhand, Tach in Himachal, and Marg in Kashmir. So these grazing lands are important because they support not only a large livestock population, but they also support large diversity and population of wild ungulates, that is wild goat and sheep, that are prey for snow leopard. Along with snow leopard, we have other large carnivores like the Himalayan brown bear, which is, although a carnivore, feeds largely on vegetation. Also, we have the wolf, which is a major predator, and along with co-predator of snow leopard, we have red fox and Tibetan sand fox as species that live along with snow leopards, but are not really good competitors because they are largely opportunistic feeders. While I'm saying that snow leopard is always above 3,000 meters, we also have records that they do come low elevations. But this is only an exception than the rule. For example, we recorded in Bhagirathi at 2,700 meters. In Sikkim also it is recorded at 2,850 meters. In Great Himalayan National Park, Himachal Pradesh, it was recorded at 2,500 meters. And also in Himachal at around 2,700 meters. So these are only exceptions. They do come at lower elevations, but because common leopard lives in these areas, they will generally like to avoid. But they do come to lower elevations. For example, in Gangotri, our camera trap data reveals that in winter, while common leopard also goes down, snow leopard comes to some elevations, but by end of March, again common leopard appears in the same areas where snow leopards are living, so they are pushed. So as you see from the date stamping in these photographs, you see what happens in April and what happens in December. That the area, very same spots, cameras that track snow leopards, then they're immediately replaced by common leopards in arrival of spring or even late winter. Very interestingly, in Pangaloka in Sikkim, we also got the first ever range overlap between snow leopard and the tiger, which is very interesting that tigers are also ranging a little higher in the mountains, and we also have high altitude records of tigers from Uttarakhand. But this again, I would say that nothing new. The new thing is that we found it now because we are doing camera trapping. Earlier also tigers may be moving up in the higher elevations. In Uttarakhand also we have a record of captures of tiger and snow leopard from one location, which is very interesting, but these are again rare. The major prey for snow leopard is burrel or blue sheep, which occurs in very commonly in the mountains. Males have very finely formed horns, and this is neither a true goat nor a true sheep, hence the genus is Pseudois. Along with burrel, we also have species like the ibex, found only west of Sutlej, that is in Himachal Pradesh, Ladakh regions, not in Uttarakhand. Argali, yes, we have one record in Nilong Valley of Uttarakhand. Otherwise, they are largely confined to North Sikkim. One record in Uttarakhand, one record in Himachal in Spiti, and much of it in Ladakh. Wild yak is found only in Ladakh in the Changchenmo area. Tibetan wild ass is again found only in Ladakh, no records, and North Sikkim. Tibetan gazelle, again only from Ladakh, eastern parts of Ladakh called Changtang, and the Ladakh urial only from Ladakh along the river Indus basin. So these are some of the important prey that snow leopard preys on. Apart from that, in the tree line areas, they do prey on musk deer and Himalayan tar. In fact, in Nepal, the snow leopard population recovered only because of the recovery of Himalayan tar populations. This is very common in Uttarakhand. And small mammals like rodents, particularly the Tibetan woolly hare, marmots, pika, and also occasionally small rodents like flying squirrels. We were lucky to get confirmation of this woolly flying squirrel that was thought to be extinct in India, but we got it in Gangotri as well as later on in Nilong as well as in Sikkim, as well as in Nanda Devi and in Sikkim. Now, this is also included in the diet of the snow leopard, as you see from the picture. So before we started estimating the population, we first mapped which are the areas that are very good and could support snow leopards in that area and good prey populations. As you see, in 2016, Bhatnagar and et al., we did this a mapping based on knowledge of limited researchers working in the area. The orange is poor habitats, and we came up with, based on limited study density estimates, we extrapolated to the habitat area and came up with a figure of 500 snow leopards, 516 snow leopards in 2016, with Uttarakhand about 86 animals, Himachal 90, Sikkim 13, Arunachal 42, and bulk of Jammu Kashmir and Ladakh together as a state about 300 animals. But later in 2021, we repeated the same exercise based on habitat quality and found that our information baseline has improved. Many poor habitats have become moderate or good, and based on this, we could get an idea about what is the status of habitats and the knowledge of prey and the status of knowledge on the prey, and compared it over the years. But the best thing that happened was in 2019, on this very same day, 23rd October 2019, the Government of India, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, released the protocol for the scientific assessment of the snow leopard population in India. This protocol was developed along the protocol developed for the 12 countries, which is called PAWS, PAWS, Population Assessment of World Snow Leopards. And this was done through consultation with all the chief wildlife wardens of the Himalayan range states, researchers and scientists. And this protocol was used from 2019 to do the first ever scientific assessment of the snow leopard population in India. Remember, 2020, we had the pandemic. So from 2019, we started. So we had interruptions in 2020 and 2021, but with the cooperation, support, and participation of all stakeholders, we could complete exercise in 23 and release the final figures in early 2024. So the range states Jammu Kashmir, Ladakh, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Sikkim, and Arunachal Pradesh, all these range states, chief wildlife wardens, forest and wildlife departments, their staff, along with the local communities living in the snow leopard areas. Wildlife Institute of India was a nodal agency that coordinated the whole exercise with support from two conservation organizations, the WWF of India and the Nature Conservation Foundation, Mysore. So while WII coordinated exercise for the country as well as Ladakh and Uttarakhand, Nature Conservation coordinated the exercise for Jammu Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh. The WWF did this coordination for Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh. So with this, the methodology was basically doing the occupancy first based on interviews, primary surveys and literature surveys. Then the occupancy was stratified. We got a distribution map and a threat map. Then we stratified the areas as low, medium and high snow leopard areas. So in some areas we did intensive camera trapping, identification of individuals, and doing spatially explicit capture-recapture analysis to get the snow leopard density. And for prey, we did the double observer method to estimate prey population. Now, step one was first going to the states. The area was divided by 15 by 15 square kilometer grids. The wildlife staff, researchers, volunteers, local community members first did surveys to look at snow leopard signs, habitat covariates, and also prey presence. Later, then as you see in the top right, the map for Himachal, grids were colored based on where evidences were high, low, or unknown, or moderate. Then up to 500 square kilometers of low, medium, and high, such areas were selected for intensive camera trapping, for which we did a lot of training, purchase of equipment, interactions, training, and then all this led to the exercise to be done in these areas. Basically, cameras are deployed and every individual is photographed. And if you get the picture of the flanks, you can actually identify individuals based on the rosette pattern, like you see here. But because two individual snow leopards will not have the same rosette pattern, this is what we try to do that. And we've used artificial intelligence to identify individuals, and then used it in your spatially explicit capture-recapture model to understand what could be the density estimate. For prey population, we used the team to go and do double observer surveys. Double observer surveys basically done by 2 or 4 people. 2 people goes first on the ridge on a predetermined trail or ridge, walking and counting animals. 45 minutes later, the other group does repeat the same trail and count animals. So this will help us to find out the detection probability and get an estimate of population estimates. So the results, we did about 13,450 kilometers of trail all over India in the distribution range, 1,971 locations of camera trap deployed, about 1,80,000 trap nights, about 43,500 square kilometers intensively sampled for snow leopard camera trapping, 20 lakh pictures of prey species, including galliforms. Snow leopard occupancy confirmed for about 100,000 square kilometers, and 241 unique snow leopards were identified. And we estimated a population to be around 718 animals. So 477 in Ladakh, only about 10 animals in Jammu and Kashmir, 124 animals in Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh about 51 animals, Sikkim about 21, and Arunachal about 36. So you can understand this is the first ever scientific assessment to get an idea about how many snow leopards are present in India. Now coming to the present scenario, we know the numbers, we know the status of habitat, we know the prey. But what is the current threats that the species faces? Natural prey is declining in many areas because they're competing with livestock. There's also poaching of wild prey by people for meat. In some cases, these wild ungulates raid crops or snow leopard kills livestock, so there are retaliatory killings. And most of the Himalayan range, if you look at the mountain range in Asia, there are wars and related activities. For example, even with our own neighbor in the west, we may have some unfamiliar situation where these areas are inhabited by wildlife species that would likely to get affected. Poaching continues even today, although it may be at low levels for snow leopard and its body parts. We cannot ignore this fact, and we should strengthen our intelligence, our patrolling, and local community participation to avoid this. Now, livestock grazing is something that happens all over Uttarakhand and other Himalayan range states where it's an important livelihood for people. But when you have unsustainable or high density grazing areas, then they compete with livestock. Although snow leopard may benefit a little bit by preying on them as easy prey, but they will degrade habitats, erode soil, and might also affect wild populations of prey animals. And the biggest threat today for snow leopard is free ranging dogs. We have dogs in border areas, high mountains roaming around. These are domestic dogs that have followed tourists or that are living around the camps of army, ITBP, because of food is available, and they form packs, and even three dogs can easily kill one snow leopard. And they also kill wild ungulates, which are prey for snow leopard. This is a very important problem which needs to be addressed immediately by all of us. For example, our camera trap data shows activity patterns of species. Now you see the thick line is of humans in the top graph, livestock in the second graph, and dog in the third graph. The dotted line is the activity pattern of snow leopard. You see, snow leopards avoid humans, livestock, and dogs at all times. They don't like humans. They are very shy. They avoid livestock as well as because livestock grazers also have dogs. They are called sheep dogs and free-ranging dogs as well. When you come to look at prey like Burrell, here again you see Burrell avoids humans and Burrell avoids livestock. So none of the wild animals would be very happy, and they also avoid dogs. And this is something that we need to understand that human presence, disturbances in high altitudes can affect both snow leopard and its prey. One of the studies from Spiti by NCF I can highlight here. While livestock growth in an area can initially benefit snow leopard as an easy prey, but as more and more livestock increases in an area, snow leopard doesn't benefit. There will be a decline in the threshold, and even that same area habitat cannot support more livestock. So we should understand the resilience of the habitat and the carrying capacity of the habitat. So we need to regulate livestock numbers. So when you initially reduce livestock, some species will definitely benefit. I'm talking about wild ungulates. So we need to understand how much we can graze, how many animals can be grazing in that area. Government of India started a project Snow Leopard, but the very good idea that we need to protect high altitude ecosystems. This was done in 2006, but unfortunately, The project, although well developed, did not get its full shape, but it outlines 11 points that we need to understand. One is, don't do protected area management, but look at landscape level approach. This is something, large areas with small core areas can be a very good way to manage, and zonation is extremely important. You cannot remove people from these areas. So we need people, we need wildlife. All we need to do is zonation, where only wildlife and where people only, and where there can be little use by people and by wildlife. That is what is important. Second is, we need to understand our boundaries were made on maps, but in reality, they don't really help us. So we need to reshape, I would say, draw the boundaries or rationalize the boundaries. Areas that are not important and heavily degraded, we can take out. Important areas that are outside protected areas can also be included. That could be a very good way. Second is looking at conservation outside protected areas. And we should allow responsible development, ecologically responsible development. So too many hydropower projects, widening of roads, bringing industries in snow leopard, bringing 12 lakh pilgrims into high altitude areas, they are all not the no way of trying to do. That's why the government in Uttarakhand has now started looking at carrying capacity of pilgrims. This is a very good initiative, because once you know how many pilgrims can visit in a day, either Gangotri or Badrinath or Kedarnath, then we can plan infrastructure and movement of people. This not only will be this important to save humans from any tragedies, but it also is useful to manage landscapes for wildlife. We also need to understand that some species are declining, and we need to have some recovery programs in the wild. That is very important. Some cases we may need exclusive conservation also. We need strong measures for enforcement of law, because border areas, high altitudes, very poor patrolling happens because there are very few staff members to do patrolling. They can't be everywhere. So only local communities, local intelligence, we should try and use. And we need to give these people incentives for proper training, good equipment, and also some community-based incentives and protection measures. There are some conflict issues with, say, leopards, snow leopards, sometimes even brown bears and black bears. And we need to understand the causes and try to reduce conflicts and help people that they don't suffer heavy losses, and compensate them through both government and non-government sources. Wherever alpine meadows are degraded, we need to restore them. When you leave a degraded area, nature takes care of its own. For example, many bugyals are threatened and degraded because of too much of camping by people. So we need to understand how many people can go and camp, how many livestock can graze the areas. We need to restore habitats. Already Uttarakhand has tried restoration measures using natural material like pirul in the Yara Bugyal. Although we got a little success in the beginning, but it failed. And we need to continue our such programs to restore habitats, so prevent soil erosion, stop this overexploitation of medicinal plants, and so on. Then we need sound scientific knowledge to conserve. And as knowledge, we generate more and more knowledge year after year. That knowledge should be fed back into the framework for wildlife management and planning of landscape management plans. And as I said again earlier also, we need to reduce anthropogenic pressures in the area and try to look at how we can promote. See, ecotourism is one good thing, but people are misusing the term and the way ecotourism is happening here. Ecotourism should not be like commercial tourism. We should help people to generate good products that can be value addition and can be sold to tourists who come there, and they get some good livelihood. That, like it happens in Mana, for example. And education. We need to help teach every school child, students in colleges, universities, tell people that how important are these high altitude ecosystems for water, for ecology, for wildlife, and for the well-being of all the people. Even Army, Army and ITBP, tourist, travel agents, they all have to be sensitized. And last is, again, knowledge-based approach to landscape management. Now, one example I can give you of how a management plan done was for Kibber in Himachal by NCF, where they did upper Spiti landscape. They did a landscape plan. We have the guidelines now, and soon places like Nanda Devi Biosphere Reserve, Gangotri Govind Complex, which are also G slip slides. I think we need to understand landscape plans to be made. Bhagirath Eco-Sensitive Zone is also we have a plan, but it is, although it's an entire river basin landscape plan, unfortunately it is got only chapters of different department, what do you call their plan, and there's no synthesis, so that the mandate of one department should not be nicely harmonized so that they are not conflicting in nature. Spiti Management Plan came up with some excellent zonation ideas of exclusive wildlife areas, exclusively human and livestock use areas, and areas where both can exist but under different densities. Now, we have done some conservation, community-based conservation work. Some areas have done good herding practices. Some people have done livestock grazing free zone. Sikkim, all the glaciers were removed from the area in Kanchenjunga. Nanda Devi and Valley of Flowers do not have grazing since 1984, which is a good long-term site. Similarly, we need to understand how rotational grazing, which was practiced in the past, can be done now, and livestock vaccination programs. Some good case studies also, like for example, local communities and villagers, they themselves help themselves. These are called self-help groups or NGOs, where they do livestock insurance programs for their own livestock. This is something that is very interesting, but unfortunately we are not able to replicate it elsewhere. So if all villagers contribute, say for example, 5 rupees per goat or sheep a month, and if anyone's goat and sheep dies of disease or accident or by killing by snow leopard, then that person can be immediately compensated with money from that kitty that generated by people. This is, we can also explore private insurance companies to do insurance for livestock, which we have not tried, and we should try doing that. In Hemis, Ladakh, Kargil, NGOs are working with local livestock herders. They are improving the structure corrals, which are actually night shelters for livestock. And once they do it, then local people support snow leopard conservation. Many international and national agencies are working towards ecotourism. In India also, we have good success stories from Himachal, Spiti, and Hemis in Ladakh. Even in Uttarakhand, there is a scope. We need to try and find it that out. In Mongolia also, we have a lot of livelihood options. For example, this is a corral that keeps livestock in the night in Kargil. So now this shabbily made corral cannot prevent brown bear, wolf, or snow leopard killing livestock. But the same thing, when organized with some chain link fence on top, strong walls and plastered, protects snow leopard kills of livestock, as well as kills by wolf. Brown bear can still break it, that I can say for sure. But at least livestock loss is reduced. People used to kill wolf when they enter this corral by simply stoning them or shooting them. But now such shandongs have now become stupas, and now Buddhist, they revere wildlife also, any life for that matter. So you can work on the religious and traditions and culture of people to also protect wildlife, like it was done in Spiti by NCF. In Spiti, there are a lot of initiatives, snow leopard enterprises like wool products. People work to sell handmade products and also support conservation in that area through ecotourism. Snow Leopard Conservancy also works on engaging with communities, does enterprise. In Bhutan also, we have examples of how education and communities were targeted. Landscape level information was generated, and they have used that information to get livestock management actions as well as snow leopard conservation. Internationally, 12 countries came together under the leadership of Kyrgyz Republic on 23rd of October, when nearly 12 years ago, to sign the Bishkek Declaration, 2013. That's why we celebrate today as the International Snow Leopard Day. 23rd October 2013 was the Bishkek Declaration, when the 12 nations joined together to protect snow leopard, and we developed a document called Global Snow Leopard Ecosystem Protection Program. And also, every country has a national snow leopard ecosystem protection program. As per this program, we decided together to secure 20 snow leopard landscapes by 2020, and I'm very happy to say that we have done that. In India, three landscapes, uh, Hemis and Upper Spiti, that is one landscape. Nanda Devi Gangotri Govind is the second landscape, which is in India, in Uttarakhand, and the one is Sikkim Tawang Bhutan landscape, which is also India. So in India have kept aside three snow leopard landscapes for the GSLA program. Under the Secure Himalaya program also, this Gangotri Govind landscape was part of that exercise. And similarly in Himachal and Ladakh, these sites also overlap with Secure Himalaya sites. Now, what did India do? We have a national strategy. We are trying to do innovative approaches. We should identify one large landscape in each snow leopard state, focus on that management, divert funds there, develop landscape management plans. Then we should set up participatory structures in center and state, focus on threat mitigation, and develop partnerships with all stakeholders in each community and each landscape, and raise funds from maybe even corporate social responsibility, like some of the big corporate giants in the country. We can tap funds to raise for conservation for government and local communities. Now, most important is transboundary cooperation. Our snow leopards are not only in India. They go into China, they go into Nepal, they go into Bhutan. So we need to understand that snow leopards move between these countries and states. So we should have good relationship with our neighbors and a common agenda to conserve snow leopards. For example, the snow leopards collared by Nepal, WWF Nepal, in Kanchenjunga Conservation Area in eastern Nepal, were moving in Kanchenjunga area of Sikkim. Similarly, there are animals moving between Mongolia and Russia, and so on and so forth. So now the future, I can say, is that we need to continue the conservation awareness program for snow leopards and all the high altitude wildlife species in the area. Education alone can bring this nation high. And every school child taught is a family taught. Every student in the university who is made aware of this will be able to use this information in his work or in his personal life, whatever it may be, in any walk of life. I think this needs to be done. We need to also understand that we need ecologically friendly, socially responsible development activities. We cannot place a hydropower project anywhere. We need not have too many hydropower projects. We need not to widen all roads in Uttarakhand or anywhere else. We need not have too many infrastructure. We need not bring people so many large numbers. So I think we need to understand how we can manage our landscapes so that it's a goose that lays the golden eggs. So we should not try to harm that. This is a lifeline of people living there. We need to maintain snow leopard habitats. Resource use is necessary for local communities living there, but it should be done sustainably. Extracting medicinal plant in May, June is not what our forefathers did. They used to extract in September. But today, market economy forces are forcing people to collect jadi booty, kita jadi, all this in May. And they go and disturb animals and destroy habitats. So that we need to understand. And wherever grazing is happening, We need to understand whether it's unsustainable or not, whether habitat is degraded or not, and reduce pressures and restore habitats. We need to improve livelihoods of people. This outmigration is happening because of various reasons, not because of wildlife conflicts. First is the climate and unpredictable weather, and also these tragedies that happen. There's unforeseen weather events, climatic events. We need to understand that people are not able to live there. There is a vulnerability. So we need to understand how we can improve their lifestyle, control outmigration, help people to do homestays in the correct way, ecotourism in the correct way, and reduce crop livestock through many methods that are available today. Skill development, Skill India program, everybody is aware of. We need to develop skill of all the local communities living in snow leopard areas, so that they can not only support the government in other activities of the different line departments, but also forest and wildlife departments, where they can participate in habitat restoration activities. They can participate in snow leopard population and prey monitoring exercises and conservation activities. And the next target we have, India has now already released SPY 2.0, that is Snow Leopard Population Assessment in India 2.0. The second cycle will start now, and by 2027, we will have the next snow leopard estimate for our country, and we'll know how they have been doing in this area. So, with this, I thank you for your time and attention, and I'm now ready for any discussion, question, answers, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. So we have a lot of questions for you. We have interesting questions, really
Okay.
interesting questions, sir. So first question is: has climate change impacted the snow leopard's habitat over the last 25 years? What are the long-term consequences for the Himalayan regions?
Yes. So climate change is affecting all wildlife species in the high altitudes, and so this is also one species that is affected. See, when temperature is increasing, and it is increasing, it will increase. You can see a shift generally. The animals and plants will try to move either upward or laterally. So in future, say 2050, 2100, 2150, these changes will happen. But the rate at which the species, animals may move faster, but plants may not, may take time to move. So there can be a mismatch. But snow leopards will definitely move. They'll move to higher elevations because snow line will recede up. So what will happen is they will go to newer areas. In that case, refugia, future refugia in Uttarakhand will be important. We have identified that, I forgot to mention in the talk, and have informed the Uttarakhand government that yes, these are the future refugia that we need to protect for the future. See, snow line is moving, as I said just now, but it is not very rapid. If it moves up, the what do you call the moraines and those areas may not have vegetation. So snow leopard, burrell, and all will be squeezed in a narrow belt, because even if burrell goes up, there is nothing to eat. So by the time vegetation moves up, then there is a scope for that. Yeah. Yes. Okay. No, Ladakh, there is no issue of any such thing. Jammu Kashmir, I think it was in the past. Now it is not there. It may be very once in a while occasion. That doesn't affect us. Poaching may happen anywhere. Even it can. It is happening. It is happening. It is any. So what we need to do is, it's not only Ladakh or Kashmir. It can happen. It is. It is happening here also, in Sikkim also, because we have borders with neighboring countries, and they are very difficult borders to monitor. So we need to be careful. So intelligence only is very important. that. See, but the first part I will tell you is that it is not, there's only one species, so there's diversity doesn't occur. But yes, for India, we have estimated 700 animals, and globally, we think it should be between 6,500 and 7,000 animals. All other countries are also doing their population estimation like we have done. So very soon, all countries will have the same method being used for all 12 countries. Yes, yes, okay. Now, snow leopard diversity, see, the animal lives only in Tibetan Plateau mountains, mountains of Central Asia. India is only on the edge. Tibetan Plateau extends into Ladakh a little bit, North Sikkim a little bit, and then fingers projecting into Spiti, into Uttarakhand and Arunachal. Main snow leopard habitat is in Tibetan Plateau. Okay, so our genetic study says that diversity is low because they occur in such isolated habitats and they need to connect themselves only by mountains. Okay. For example, you may think that snow leopard of Ladakh is related closely to Himachal. It is not the case. Sikkim snow leopards are more closely related to Ladakh because as you draw a line from Ladakh to North Sikkim, they are very closely connected. So for an animal that is dispersing from the center or moving from the edges, it will see the bigger, we are only in the edge of the population distribution. So the animals can move long distances. So Sikkim and Ladakh are close. Uttarakhand and Himachal are not closer. That's what I'm trying to say. I would measure success in two, three ways. Number one is the status of habitats first, by looking at how the habitat is, how much they are product, what is the primary production, whether they have a lot of problems like overgrazing or degraded habitats. Once habitat is indicated, the next indicator would be prey, like prey of snow leopard, like barrel, etc. And the best indicator would be snow leopard itself. If I can find snow leopard with cubs, that means, or if I get camera trap image of snow leopard with cubs, that means snow leopard is doing very well. Because in disturbed and heavily poached areas, a mother will not be able to raise successfully three cubs. Same holds true for other large predators also. If snow leopard can, as an apex predator, survive, bring up two, three cubs to adulthood, that itself is a success. So we monitor snow leopards. As of now, translocation is absolutely not necessary. Habitats are contiguous. Snow leopard can walk by its own to any area. If there is a degraded area, we should only improve it so that snow leopards come and live on their own there. We don't need to any assistance for them to do that. Yeah. We have made substantial progress by bringing scientific methodology to count snow leopards. So we have now camera traps. We are able to monitor snow leopard populations very well. So the amount of focus has increased very well. Now the next step is to do genetic analysis of snow leopard cats. So once we do, we can estimate the snow leopard population very precisely. Okay. And we also have developed a new method, which I did not talk about, is estimating snow leopard prey density using camera traps. It's called camera trap based distance sampling, which we tried piloting in Gangotri for Bharal and musk deer. It is working. So we can use that also. So you remove all human error. Scats, if you collect and analyze for DNA, we can do genetic diversity. We can do monitor individually track molecular tracking of one individual. We can get the population estimation also. So next phase, I think we should do snow leopard scat collection and analysis. And There are many techniques that we can use now. We have to think of using artificial intelligence in our work, or trying to analyze images that we are capturing. And I also think radio telemetry of snow leopards has to be done in India, which we are not doing. We tried a lot, and we should keep trying, because we don't know how far they move. So if you put a collar, at least we'll know where are they moving, what is their winter range, summer range. If you put collars on young adults, then you know how they're dispersing. This has been done for tigers, but it is difficult to do for snow leopards. That's why we are not able to do. But money is also an issue. Snow leopard, you know, has to try a lot to kill a wild animal like burrell or ibex. Okay, it may make 20 attempts, and in one attempt it may get a kill. Okay, so dead animals it will scavenge, but easy prey is goat and sheep, or even yak, domestic yaks and domestic hybrids of the yak. So occasionally, when they are not getting any wild prey, they will kill. It's easy for them to kill, and that's okay. Yeah. I have done. I have written about that in 1996 itself. I saw my snow leopard first. Snow leopard. Yeah, it's fine. It was in Hemis National Park in Ladakh. Even today, I would say the best place to see snow leopards in India would be Ladakh Hemis National Park, and also in Spiti. You can easily see them. The spin Kibber, for example. Snow leopard sightings are quite so. There is a tourism now. People are flying from even southern India to Ladakh and then seeing snow leopards. So that kind of thing is happening. Imagine such things are happening in Uttarakhand. So we will get people to come and see also snow leopards in Uttarakhand. This will come only at a stage when animals are not threatened, and they are now used to people, and they can tolerate some bit of tourism by people coming and seeing. So densities have to increase, and we should find a correct area where we can see. My PhD was on mountain ungulates, and musk deer was my species. I have probably seen it more than 500 times in the wild in my lifetime, and I have published papers. I have worked on musk deer. Was my primary interest species in 1989, 1991, 92 when I worked in Kedarnath Wildlife Sanctuary for my PhD. The best place that you can go and see is Kedarnath Wildlife Sanctuary. There is a place called Shokarak. You climb up to that place and climb up further and wait there. You will definitely see Shokarak. Shokarak. There is a hut by the department also. You have to camp there and walk up the places. Yeah. Where did you go? Where did you go? Yeah. So I'm talking. This place is south of Chandrashila. So the road from Mandal to Chopta, yeah, after Kanchalakar, there's a place before Bulkana. You should get down and climb. Okay, those places nobody pilgrims don't go, tourists don't go. You can go there and then walk on the eastern towards the eastern ridge. You will see definitely Himalayan tar and musk deer. Musk deer is a very shy animal, and you have to really go very close to get a sighting of that animal. So, and people also should know how to search for an animal. It is not like going on a road in Chilla and seeing sambar and cheetal. In mountains, you need to train yourself to spot animals using spotting scope. Okay, so wishing all a very happy International Snow Leopard Day. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you. All the best.
Yes, sir.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Um, ma'am, what's time? Ma'am, what's time we should join? Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.